Hey guys, SickMotion here with a quick patch run through of the 9.1 notes. So I guess this is the first patch of the new season, but it's still in preseason. The ranked hasn't reset yet, but I guess they're just doing the first patch before ranked resetting, which I've got a lot of questions about. I think it's 2 weeks from now. I think it's the 23rd of January. So unless that has changed since I last found out or last heard about it. Anyway, here Kalista. I haven't seen a Kalista in a very long time. I don't really watch competitive that much, so I don't know how much she's being played there. I haven't seen one in solo queue in a very long time. Her base damage on her Q is up now. She no longer gains just free damage for being near the person she's bound to. And Rend only deals 50% damage to epic monsters, so there's going to be a lot less easy Baron secures with her. That was one of the things that was really annoying with her. But like I said, yeah, didn't see much Kalista at all. Ornn got quite a few changes here. His health growth and base health regen and health regen growth all went up, as well as his armor growth and his base attack damage up a little bit. Basically buffs all around on his base stats. Before going through anything else, his W that used to give him a shield no longer does give him that shield. So the kind of the durability things are based around that, I think. He can upgrade Frozen Fist. Oh, it's just called Frozen Fist. That's funny. That's what I always call it. But he can upgrade the Iceborne, Ghostblade, Bork, and the Ludens now, as well as the other things that he used to upgrade. And the changes that they made on his passive is he now gains 10% additional armor and magic resistance from items, so just free stats. At level 13, any upgradable items Ornn owns or purchases for the rest of the game are upgraded for free. And he can have up to 2 upgraded ones, so he gets all those extra stats as well for free. You don't have to upgrade him anymore. And at each level 14 onwards, Ornn can upgrade one of his allies' items by getting within 600 range of them and clicking on them. Allies can only have 1 upgraded item. So you no longer upgrade the item yourself. If you're on Ornn's team, you wait for him to upgrade it for you. But he has to choose each level, so he'll probably upgrade the person who's doing the best or whatever, because it's just more raw stats that you're ending up upgrading. But yeah, you can no longer pay to upgrade items. They made the mana cost on his Q a little lower. The base damage is slightly lower later on, and the slow is the same at all ranks rather than scaling up. And then the big change on his W, he no longer shields, but he's now unstoppable during the W. The cooldown is now a flat 12 seconds rather than going down per level. The duration is a little shorter rather than 1 second. It's 3/4 seconds. It still does the same amount of ticks. It just does the ticks faster. And self slow is now 35% rather than 50, and the brittle proc damage, ranging from 7 to 12% of the max health based on the level of the character, is now 12 to 20% of the health based on the max level of the character. So the shield being dropped off there is kind of interesting. It'll make him a little bit more squishy in lane, because he used to be able to just trade up a ton of free damage while that was on. You didn't really want to be standing in and hitting him when he was using it, and if he ended up getting hit by it, you didn't want to go close to him when he was brittle, when he didn't have the shield, and then by the time the brittle ran out, his W was going to be back up to get the shield, so that'll definitely change his laning quite a bit. His E, they reduce the mana cost early on, and it goes up per level. And if a Q pillar is about to expire while you're casting E, it'll stay up long enough for your E to hit it, which is nice. The first cast slow on his ult as well is now 10% scaling up to where it used to be, based on the distance traveled rather than just that flat slow. And the second activation of it, the knock up, rather than being a second and a half, is 1 second for the first enemy hit, and then half a second for everyone after that. So it's not as crazy, just all-purpose huge CC spell as it used to be. I think that was more aimed at competitive play because it was really strong there, I'm assuming. Sejuani got some changes here. I'm not going to really go through all of the changes on Sejuani. They changed around some of the base numbers and whatnot. One of the big changes, though, is that they made her passive give you 20 flat armor and magic resistance rather than a huge amount, and then rather than scaling off 100% of your total armor and magic resistance, it only scales off 25%, and it's on your bonus, not your total. Your frost armor lingers for a second longer, so it's a 50% increase on that, but you're losing you were basically invincible while it was on. Now it's a far less defense, but it does last a bit longer, so you might be able to get more use out of it. At a certain point, the amount of armor and magic resistance it gives you is probably redundant, but I don't know if that trade-off is going to make her feel better or worse. Kind of seems worse. They've toyed around with her numbers a little bit on everything else, and then they changed her ult, the stun duration, to 1 second at all levels. The range is also shorter now. I actually had a Sejuani trying to ult me today, and she missed it when I thought it was going to hit, but it was, I guess, the range decrease that she got hit, or that made it so it didn't hit me. And then there's a little bit higher damage on it to make up for the changes they made on her. But those are the two big changes. Ashe ability, icon, border now flashes 1Q, castable at max stacks. Basically just some like kind of quality of life things there. She now also gets assists if Hawkshot revealed someone that wasn't previously revealed and they die within 10 seconds. Zinc, why can't I? Zed. Jinx's W scales with attack speed now, so it can be 50% or 33% faster. So it goes down to 0.4 seconds based on your attack speed, which does also use her switching duration. So basically using the zap, unless you were chasing someone down, didn't feel that great because it immobilized you for a long time. If Jace casts Acceleration Gauge during Slockvast class time, he'll now ignore movement commands until both abilities have been cast. I think that's a quality of life thing to just buffer your skills together better without trying to like screw yourself over, but I don't know if that's actually gonna. When they do small changes like this in the past, it has caused more issues than it has helped. So we'll see how that goes. They changed some of the Shunpo stuff. It's the same cast time, but all the cast time is after teleporting rather than before it, so you can use it instantly, and you can queue up the Gunblade to fire as well. I don't know, that like changes like this. Like I bet you even cat mains didn't realize like all this stuff existed here. So that's kind of just changing stuff for the sake of changing it, it looks like, or I don't know why it's that confusing underneath the hood, but whatever. Here's a huge change off this pass. 12 stacks on Nasus per large monster, minion, or champion kill. So I've seen a few jungle Nasuses today. I was assuming there would be a lot more jungle Nasuses because you got to keep in mind that early on in the game it's a cannon minion every 3 waves, so you're only getting that extra 6 stacks because you used to get 6 by itself, now you get 12, so it's only an extra 6, and you're getting that every 3 waves. It will help you catch up later on in the game when there's cannon minions are more frequent. You'll be able to catch up your stacks faster by getting the 12 rather than the 6 if you were behind. But jungle Nasus, every jungle camp, the big monster from it will give you 12 stacks. I had a jungle Nasus that was farming pretty decently, but he wasn't doing like amazing. He was like 2-1-1 at I think 16 or 17 minutes. He had 475 stacks. That's pretty insane. You sacrifice jungle presence and pressure if you're farming as hard as he was, but then you got to keep in mind you're not getting held down. You're just free farming in the jungle. Later on in the game, I didn't see how many stacks he ended with, but around like 26 or 27 minutes, I know he had over 750, which is starting to get like pretty insane. Like that's if you're getting that out of like top lane, you're farming some jungle camps in between. You maxed your cooldown reduction as fast as possible, and you're not getting held down at all in lane. So that's pretty crazy. I think that they're going to revert those changes, unless jungle Nasus just proves to be bad for the team. But I mean, his gank still isn't the worst. He walks out, he slows someone with a targeted slow that lasts for 5 seconds. That's still a pretty strong gank. In between perma-farming everything. Sivir's Q no longer reduces damage if it hits a champion. If it hits minions, as far as I can read from here, it will still reduce the damage. But if it hits just straight every champion hit, it won't reduce the damage. So you can do big chunks with her Q. That might make her get picked more, actually. It seems decently strong. Tumble's cooldown is now reduced by 50% while final hour is active. The Tumble's cooldown does not start until she actually auto-attacks. So you can't just tumble. You have to auto-attack in between, which actually shouldn't be that hard. That's kind of an unnecessary buff, I think. I think Vayne was still doing all right, but what do I know? I'm a dumb top laner. Zyra, the root duration on her E is now a quarter second longer, so it's 1.25 seconds rather than 1 second. And rampant growth. If Zyra casts rampant growth during deadly spines or grasping root cast times, she'll ignore movement commands until both abilities have been cast, kind of like the Jace one. They took out the funneling rules earlier this preseason, and now they're adding it back. Hunter's Machete, Hunter's Talisman, Unenchanted Stalker's Blade, and Unenchanted Skirmisher's Saber now reduce minion gold earned by 10 per minion if their owner's gold from minions is greater than half their gold from monsters. Good luck remembering all of that. That's just going to be something that's going on in the background unless they introduce some way to see that, but that's I don't know. Confusing for the sake of being confusing. I understand the purpose to not have the jungle funneling be so strong, but there's so many things that are going on without any type of display that it's like just knowledge that you have to know. It's like you're just expected to know this. So new players in the game have to go back and like read a lot of these patches where these things are explained. Like that might be the only place that's actually going to be explained for a long time. Hail of Blades attack speed bonus is now flat 110% at all levels, lower later on, higher earlier, and attacks that benefit from an auto attack reset like Jax's W no longer consume a Hail of Blade stack. I still don't think Hail of Blades is. I mean, maybe, I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of stuff that it works better, but I don't know. It seems like it's for very few specific champions. The attack speed rune from the top row of your rune selection is now 10% attack speed rather than 9, so a little bit of boost there. Movement speed bonus multiplier on celerity is 10% rather than 8%. It's still only off of the bonus movement speed, so it's not overly crazy. I think to make this field more usable and useful, they need to make it off of total movement speed and make it lower, and just it was off the total movement speed before, but it also gave you adaptive damage based on how much movement speed you were getting from it. I don't think they need that adaptive damage, but to make it feel more usable, I think making it off of only bonus movement speed is still not the right choice. But what do I know? I'm a dumb top laner. The damage on Shield Bash got increased a little bit. The trade-off for taking Shield Bash is you don't get Demolish. And as a top laner, if you get that Demolish, if you're able to send your lane opponent back as like a big dumb tank with no damage and no attack speed, you can still break a plating every time you send them back if you have the Demolish, which ends up being really nice and helps with pushes later on in the game. Especially if your character builds like an Iceborne Gauntlet, you can use the Iceborne Gauntlet plus the Demolish to take towers deceptively fast. So basically, champions within the 2500 range who assisted in a turret takedown now also count towards local gold distribution. Basically, if you did some damage to a turret and walked away, and you stayed within 1200 units, you were sorry, let me rephrase that. The turret platings had a very far range to share the gold if you had actually done damage to the tower, and I was wondering why that was so crazy. And now they increased that to the takedown of the turret as well, not just the turret platings. So as long as you've done damage to that tower, I think it's in the past 10 seconds, you don't have to stay near it to get the. It's like if you want to start chasing for a kill or you need to back away or something, you'll still be getting credit because you were there helping. Long range abilities. Pinging these abilities will now let your team know which targets are in range. This is actually kind of nice for like ults and whatnot. I was playing Pantheon today, and if you ping Pantheon's ult, like I'm pinging my ult like I'm want to ult over and over, but it also shows which champions are in range of the ult, which is kind of cool. I was saying it earlier that it might just be easier for stuff like Pantheon's ult to just like when I ping my ult, show like a faint circle of my ultimate around my character on the minimap so you can see how far I can actually ult. But I can see how that would be used to like cover the map and like grief people if someone was having a temper tantrum. And abilities with detailed information you can ping. There's a whole list of them here, but for instance, Kassadin's Riftwalk, time until stacks expire if you don't have enough mana to cast your Riftwalk because it's stacked up. The remaining ghost duration on Mordekaiser's R. You can ping Nasus's Q to show the current stacks. I think that one's really cool, being able to show the current stacks. I wish that they had that for Sion, being able to show Sion's current stacks. Maybe they'll add that again in the future. And then they changed a bunch of ability icon HUD things here as well. That there's too many. There's no point in me reading them through. You can go and check them for yourself if you want to do that. Some bug fixes here that I didn't even really read because there's probably still a lot of bugs anyway. And then the Blood Moon skins are out this patch. That was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but still shorter than most. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully it helped in some way. I just figured I don't do these patch note videos for the views or to like anything crazy like that. I'm just trying to put it all in one place for when people ask me on stream my opinions on the patch, or if I can go over the patch, I can, rather than trying to say, oh, we'll go back to this day, this VOD of this time on Twitch, I can just have it on the YouTube channel. It's easier for people to see all in one place there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If not, feel bad for you for watching this far into the video. But anyway, nonetheless, thanks a lot, and we'll see you guys on stream later. Take it easy.